And then the next angle I want to get on this thing is that, should we be surprised? I mean, that this wasn't Shanahan's guy. I mean, Shanahan's, yeah, and Barnwell points this out, that his best years as a play caller, he's had Matt Schaub, pocket passer, Kirk Cousins, pocket passer,
Right.
Matt Ryan, pocket passer, Jimmy
Right.
Garoppolo, pocket passer, and now Brock Purdy, who's got a little mobility, but he's basically a pocket passer.
Mhm.
And are we surprised that Shanahan pulled the plug? And I want to play this one more time. We played this a few weeks ago, but this to me is the most interesting soundbite you can find on Twitter as it pertains to Kyle Shanahan, because this is a guy who knows him and works with him and knows his mindset. And when you hear him describe Kyle's mindset, you can kind of understand how we got to this point. This is Joe Banner on the 33rd team with Ari Myrov. Listen to what Banner says about Shanahan here, and tell me if it really strikes a chord now that this trade has been made and Trey's gone.
In the preseason game, and if you just looked at the box score, you probably thought, wow, he had such a good game. But if you watched it, you saw that his touchdown pass should have probably been an interception. You saw that he was sacked 4 times. It was not really a great game for Trey Lance. Joe, Trey has been in these trade chatter all off season long. Brock Purdy is ahead of schedule. They signed Sam Darnold in free agency. Do you feel like Trey's future is in San Francisco? How should they handle all of this here with the regular season approaching in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, so my answer is affected by a lot by the fact that I worked with Kyle Shanahan. And he's obviously a really good coach. I worked with some really good offensive coordinators. He is as smart, if not smarter than any of them. But he's a very emotional guy, and he tends to be a fairly short-term thinker. And once you get in his doghouse, it's really hard to get out. But knowing the way Kyle is wired, it's really hard for me to picture how they could ever just get back into a really good, positive place supporting each other. So that leaves me with kind of a simplistic that if they could find another place and give Trey a chance to showcase what at least I thought he could be in the draft, and let Kyle make his bet on the other guys he hasn't watched on, because it's just very hard. Once he gets down on a player, it's just very hard to get him back into a place where he's really objective about it, and that's not going to be good for any player, but especially for a quarterback.
And the reality
There you go. I thought that last part, Coach, was especially compelling. Once Kyle gets into a certain area with a prospect, that it's hard to get him back. And I kind of feel like, yeah, we can talk about Brock Purdy and the timing and the injuries and the unluckiness, but somewhere along the line, and maybe they misgauged Trey's athleticism and they thought he was going to be some running quarterback. But once they made it clear, hey, this guy's going to make plays from the pocket, I just got the feeling that Shanahan didn't like what he saw, and it wasn't just because if you really liked him as a prospect, yeah, he's got Brock Purdy, but he went through a bunch of quarterbacks last year, and Trey's not that expensive, and you already said a million times he's a great guy. If you liked his football, he would still be here. My point is just that I think I think he likes Trey the person. I don't think he likes Trey the quarterback, and I don't think he can get beyond it. And I think, as Banner pointed out there, that once he kind of draws the mental line through your name, you're done. And with him, and I'm not saying he's not rooting for you anymore, but it's like, I think Banner, who knows Shanahan well, kind of crystallized this whole thing, is that this has to do with circumstance and luck and Trey's rawness and all that, but it has a lot to do with Shanahan and how he gets emotional with his decision making, and how he might not be the greatest personnel evaluator, and how when he no longer likes you, it's kind of, you probably do need to move on, because he's not moving on. So Trey probably needed to move on. Give me your perspective on what Banner just said there.
To be truthful, I'm kind of done psychoanalyzing Kyle. And the reason why is because I feel like we got him right where we want him. What you traditionally want is you want a coach to get a quarterback that he likes, that he hitches his wagon to, and you try to win with the quarterback. And if you don't win with the quarterback, the coach gets fired. Like, come on, we know how this goes, right? And we've been playing this song and dance of who Kyle likes, who does he want, who he actually drafted, how we got somebody. And all of that's over now. We got our guy. We got Brock, right? So Kyle falling in and out of love with a player, that's Kyle's business. He makes millions of dollars. That's up to him, right? All I know is that he's run out of room in this situation. You have your quarterback and you presumably have a backup that you like, okay? You have an offense and you have a team that you like. Whether or not you like or don't like a player really shouldn't come into your purview of whether or not you should be able to coach him or not. Like, I've coached players that I could not stand. I've coached players that I did not like, right? Or there were things about their skill set that I didn't like. The thing that's crazy for me.
What position coach did you coach?
Offensive line.
Okay. So if you had an offensive lineman that you watched in practice and he could move his feet, he had all the attributes, quickness, long arms, but at the end of the day, he's kind of a marshmallow. I'm not saying Trey's a marshmallow. I'm just saying let's say there's a trait about a player that you identify early on that you're like, I don't even know you that well, but I can kind of tell your Twitter is tough up front. I doubt you like the soft marshmallow offensive lineman that kind of caves in. You want a guy who's going to, stripe on a stripe and bang heads. Yeah. And it's like, what if you discerned a little bit right in that this prospect on your team doesn't have the traits that you want? Are you still all in? I mean, how do you get by that? See, that's the thing.
So that's a great question. That is a phenomenal question. So the difference isn't that what you saw in a player changes once you get him in front of you. The difference is you start realizing the work that it's going to take for you to get him where you want him to be. That's the difference. So it's not, I've been hearing a lot of this like narrative where Trey showed something in Santa Clara that they didn't see in North Dakota State at the pro day. Or he showed something at practice. Once they saw it at practice, there was some type of realization. No, it doesn't work that way. You scout the player, you talk to his coaches, you watch his practice film, you watch him work out. Like, this isn't like the pro day where you watch him throw 50 times and then you just make a decision. Larry, this is very inclusive. Like, they don't just check. They go in depth. Like, if Kyle didn't, or John didn't see literally every play that Trey Lance threw from the time he was in high school or the time he was in middle school all the way through college, shame on them. You know that.
Right. They watched all of it.
Come on. They saw it all. So we got to stop this narrative of Trey showed them something that they were just, oh my God, John, I didn't know you said this shit's kind of surprising. Like, no, that didn't happen. What happened was they got him in the building and they figured out they didn't want to do the work. They didn't want to do the work. That's what it was. It wasn't like they got him in there and for some reason, he's incredibly raw. No shit, Sherlock. We know he's raw. Okay? They know. The problem is that we have to look at the timeline. They keep telling us over and over again, we wanted to make sure that we could get up to get a rookie on a cheap deal, or we could get somebody because we wanted to keep our core together. We're always worried about signing other players. We're always worried about our championship window because we're in a win now mode. It's all about timing. Everything that I just said is about frequency and timing. When they got him here, it wasn't as if Trey wasn't good. They started understanding that they don't have the time to get him where he needs to be. So they gaslit the situation. And
they drafted him 2 years too late, didn't they?
I mean, tomato, tomato. I like the way you put.
Well, don't you think? I
spin
mean,
on
don't you
it.
think if they had drafted him when they were crappy, then they could have given him all this field time. Instead, they drafted this raw prospect in the middle of their Super Bowl window, and then, as you just said, didn't want to do the work. I would say that it wasn't actually that they don't work hard. I mean, I know that wasn't what you were saying, but what you're saying is absolutely right. They didn't have time to develop a quarterback. They're trying to win a Super Bowl. And here's a young quarterback. I mean, this is the facts. Lance has thrown 132 passes in games over the past 3 seasons. The guy has only thrown 420 competitive passes since he was in high school, and almost all of that was at the FCS level. If you watched him, anybody could see that he just needs reps. I mean, he doesn't anticipate like some other quarterbacks. When he sees it, first of all, he doesn't always see it. When he does see openings, he doesn't let it rip. He's not always decisive. The decision making is kind of iffy because he doesn't have the reps, and then mix in just kind of average ball placement and accuracy. We saw him throw a screen pass that became an interception. You can see the talent is there. Almost nobody in the Niner camp ripped those 25-yard cut patterns on a line more than this guy. This guy can throw the heck out of the football, but he has to develop, and they don't have the reps or the time to give him, and so they're moving on. But I hate it because you're selling low on a high-end quarterback prospect who I think is going to be really good in a few years. So it bugs me today.
We gotta be Niners fans. We gotta look at this from our perspective. What we're doing is bad, but we're failing fast. Okay, we're failing fast, and we're sticking to our mantra. Like, we can't switch up who we are as an organization, right? So moving off of Trey keeps the core together. This is what they want. So they have to win with this. They got to win with this, right? And it does help our cap. So, they have their quarterback on their rookie deal. And come on, man, like, throw the ball out. Like, it's time to play.